Yes, you read the title of this video right. I wore Primark boots to a sustainable fashion party. But don't worry, if you stick with me, I will explain because I do have my reasons, and I'll reveal why I made my fashion event debut sporting the very aspect of fashion the event and I continue to challenge. So Devil Wears Prada is one of my absolute all-time favourite films. Ironically, despite its somewhat negative portrayal of the fashion industry, it's one of the things that got me so inspired and captivated by fashion when I was younger. And just over a year ago, I was able to attend my very own Devil Wears Prada-esque type event for the first time. I felt like Andy experiencing Paris Fashion Week, but instead I was in an industrial warehouse in rainy Manchester rather than the City of Lights, Musée Galeria, Champs-Élysées or Petit Palais. No, this was quite different to any type of Paris Fashion Week, but for all the reasons that I love. Manchester is an industrial city with a very rich cultural heritage, home to so many incredible music artists and just a really amazing place for creative innovation in general. When I was doing my master's degree at Manchester Metropolitan, I was also doing an internship part-time with Mindless Mag, an online fashion magazine for fashion and stuff that matters. The founder of Mindless and I began to develop a really close friendship whilst I was doing my internship, and during that time she was invited to attend as a guest Manchester Sustainable Fashion Party, which is an evening with guest panel talks of local creators and speakers, a fashion show which was followed then by live music, and she kindly extended that invitation for me to come along with her. Obviously I just was like, yes, of course, I will be there. So what was Manchester Sustainable Fashion Party about? Well, in a PR piece for About Manchester, it stated that Manchester Sustainable Fashion Party is the brainchild of Alison Carlin. Alison is incredibly passionate about clothing and the ethics that surround the industry and founder of Ali Pali Vintage. The event will bring together companies and individuals who promote a more circular approach to fashion ethics. All of the people involved in the event are fully behind diverting from landfill and in turn helping the planet. The event will be raising awareness on ways we can contribute to a more circular economy. The circular economic model appears to be one of the solutions that can deliver not only the climate crisis, but also more generally in terms of encouraging sustainable consumption patterns without compromising on quality of life. So as a circular fashion advocate, as you know, this was on another level of exciting for me. Like, I was in a city I loved, doing a degree I loved, about to go to an event that I can network with industry professionals in an industry that I love. So it was just unbelievably surreal to think that I was going to be able to attend this. So the Manchester Sustainable Fashion Party was, and probably is to date, the most exciting experience in my professional career so far. Yes, I'm only 22, so I've not had a very long professional career, but I guess it was just a kind of event that I felt held a level of industry prestige, so be attended by people who've forged somewhat of a name or a legacy for themselves, and at my age not many people have forged a name for themselves in their chosen field. Obviously some people have, but I certainly hadn't at this point, so it was just very special to me that I was going to be able to attend this, and not only just attend but be attending on behalf of Mindless Mag as well. I'm just going to backtrack a second to after I'd accepted the invitation. My thoughts immediately switched to, what the hell am I going to wear? Having already committed to the No New Clothes 2020 challenge last year as my New Year's resolution, can't talk, buying something new to wear was not an option for me, so I knew I was going to have to get creative with my existing wardrobe. So I had, as you can probably picture the scene, a proper 2000s teen movie style wardrobe montage of trying on different outfits and throwing unsuccessful options into a mounting pile of clothes on my bed, pretty much like standard scenes before any night out. And if you did watch my previous video, you'll have heard me rant about how much I love the process and the art of getting dressed, and for me, I did feel a bit nervous about attending this event because it felt like the ultimate opportunity to dress for the professional identity that I have kind of aspired to since I was little. So I wanted to make a statement with an outfit that was empowering, made me feel confident, and obviously was fashionable. So in the end I opted for a block colour yellow and black ensemble comprising of a black turtleneck that was a hand-me-down from my granny's, a sleeveless yellow maxi dress that was a former fast fashion purchase from Warehouse. Paired that with some daisy like little stud flower earrings and some glossy heeled ankled boots from Primark. Also obviously a former fast fashion purchase. Even as I settled on this outfit, I had like this feeling in my gut asking, is it really acceptable for me to turn up to a sustainable fashion party representing a conscious fashion magazine wearing a dress and boots from fast fashion labels? Almost like this preempted fear that I was going to be found out to be some sort of imposter, like, oh my god, look, she's turned up to this wearing fast fashion. But I quickly came to a realisation that yes, of course, it's okay to wear these things because of one very important quote, and unfortunately I don't know who to reference. I don't know who to reference this quote to, but it goes, the most sustainable clothes are the ones you already own. And with that I could justify my outfit entirely. Unfortunately, when it came to the day of the event, the founder was unable to attend after sustaining a small injury, so she then asked if I would go solely to, represent Mindless Mag. Obviously I was still going to go, I was so excited, and I was able to then bring a +1 with me instead. The event finally did come around. It happened on February the 29th. On the night of the event I arrived with my best friend Izzy, who was my +1. She was also a fashion student in Manchester at the time, so I thought it'd be really beneficial for her as well. And obviously best friend, of course, she's going to be my option to come. When we arrived there was just like this really good like sort of electric atmosphere. So the event venue was 5-4 Studios in Salford, and it's a 1970s warehouse transformed into a state-of-the-art studio and events venue, and it was renovated and reopened by acclaimed fashion and beauty photographer David Oldham, so obviously very fitting for the event itself. I was like immediately drawn to the beautiful interior and event setup. Like the main event room was lit up with this crimson and electric blue lighting, which just created a very captivating visual environment. And I personally love manipulated and curated spaces that represent the tone or the content of the event taking place within them. This old industrial building from Manchester, with Manchester history on the outside, was like super chic and modern on the inside, and it had still got loads of character, which to me sort of represented these ideas of progression and optimism, which I personally think are important undertones of sustainability. But my attention soon turned to other people's outfits very naturally. I was curious to see what other people were wearing, and I think mostly just because I wanted to assess how well I'd done had I dressed appropriately for the occasion while still being able to express my own style and sort of create the visual fashion identity that I really wanted to. For me and Izzy, the event commenced with a mini photo shoot because it just would have been rude not to, obviously, but then an opportunity to meet another intern from Mindless who was also at the event, which was really lovely too. So talks began, and the events hosted a showcase of speakers, retailers and designers, including sustainable fashion stylist and writer Sophie Benson, Rich Gill from Bags of Flavours, Vinnie Tao from Sneaker Farm, Camilla Chung of Wardrobe Wellbeing, Anita Smith, who owns So What MCR, and Neve Carr, the creator of Nemsi, all of whom are local to Manchester area. After the talk there was a fashion show from local brands, some of whom were like the brands of those on the panel, but also included other brands. So there was Susie Loves Milo, Bags of Flavour, Nemsi, Wardrobe Wellbeing, Pop Boutique, A Postcard from Brighton, Dominic Brown and Textiles, Caterpillar Vintage, Be Vintage and Newson Goods. The fashion show was like just so much fun, really informal, but I think that made it more engaging. There was no snobbery involved at all. It was just like a really wonderful display of local talent and designers whom are striving for positive change and to make a difference in fashion. And then at the end of the show, like everyone just spilled out onto the catwalk and the dance floor. Models came back out dancing with like these big plaques with signs and quotes on about fashion sustainability, and it just felt like I was in fashion heaven. I could have died and been in fashion heaven right there. Just, you know, dance with my best mate, being submerged in this ocean of creative and conscious fashion energy. It was really quite special. There was live music from Danielle Moore, BB and DJ Kirby, and at this point drinks are flowing, everyone's dancing, having a good time. And then we got tickets to La Discotheque at Albert Hall, which we all went on to afterwards. So like the whole event from start to finish was just such a feel-good experience to be a part of. I wish I'd made notes at the event or like the day after the event so that I could directly share the key points from the speakers themselves. However, what I can still share is my personal takeaways from the experience as a whole, because as Maya Angelou wisely said, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that's the aspect of the event that I can still vividly hold on to a year later. The morning after the event, I felt like so empowered and inspired, and as I'm actually filming this and reflecting on the event, I can feel myself becoming more motivated to aspire to my circular fashion career goals, to be more proactive and absorb as much information about the industry as I can so that I can better and more effectively be part of the solution for change. And that's incredible that I can still feel that feeling, that energy inside of me. A lot of my uni research, particularly during my masters, explores the relationship we have as humans with spaces, landscape and physical experiences in the context of fashion situations, and then how we respond, interact, behave or even feel in those spaces. This event reminds me of how fashion can bring people together and how it can be a celebration of creativity and innovation. And the setting in which it occurred like just could not have been more fitting in my opinion. And it felt like in that space on that night an accumulation of people that partially represent this growing zeitgeist of shifting towards sustainability as a core pillar of Manchester's fashion future. I particularly love that this was a celebration of like local talent, and I do hope and think we will see a return to local manufacturing and production in the years to come, and also a return to re-establishing relationships with local brands and designers that actually really care about their craft, care about their product and care about customer relationships at a level that's just deeper, so much deeper than profit itself. So yeah, the general energy of everyone in the room at the event was just very welcoming and very accepting, which leads me on to my next point. So earlier in the video I mentioned that I wore Primark boots to this sustainable fashion party. Why was this relevant? Because it didn't matter what my fashion past looked like. What mattered is that I was aspiring towards positive action and positive change within my control, obviously. When it comes to fashion, younger generations, especially my generation, we've been brought up exposed to the global dominance of fast fashion retail and the concept of fast fashion. It's a norm of our reality in the UK and for many other global north countries across the world. But to quote any impen black girls, they can fix your plate but they cannot force you to eat. And I'm kind of adopting it in a different context here, but yes, fast fashion can keep enticing you with more and more micro trends, and you may be questioning like, but how can I express myself without fast fashion? But in my opinion, when we buy into micro trends, we are actually expressing the economic desires of big corporations, not the language of who we are as individuals. Like, do you really need a new outfit every time you post a pic on Instagram? We all have a unique relationship with our clothing, and whether we realise it or not, are all a cog in the fashion engine. If you require clothing, then you are part of fashion in one way or another, and in that sense we do have a responsibility to be more mindful about our relationship with our clothing. But when collectives of individuals begin to take positive stance, that power transforms into collective action on a mass scale. And you may feel lost at first if you do decide to quit fast fashion. I know I did, but actually you'll soon come to realise that you've been liberated, and there's a growing global community of people ready to welcome everyone and anyone that's making that stance to quit fast fashion. When you no longer feel that pressure to have the most in thing, whether that be tiny bags that you can't fit anything in for practical use, or even gloss black heeled boots, then you will no longer be subject to fast fashion's hidden motives. It goes without saying that a crucial part of sustainability is accessibility, and I did notice at this event that the panel was mostly predominantly white and lacking in BIPOC voices. Obviously that excluded diverse demographic representation and more authentic voices and experiences of other races and ethnicities in that particular fashion discussion. That doesn't discredit the work of the speakers that were there. They are making incredible strides in fashion. It would have enriched 100% the conversation if there were more diverse voices involved in that panel discussion. As well, this event was so inspiring that I would love to explore how such events can be adapted to maintain that aspiration whilst breaking down any walls or barriers of exclusivity or industry prestige. Being in a room with people who share your values and are striving for the things that you're striving for, it creates a really contagious energy, and it's something really special and quite special. That's not a word. Special. It's so good I have to make up words for it. I think it would be amazing to harness this energy and spread it beyond the walls of the event into the wider community. Now, I don't necessarily have the answers as to what that looks like, but I think breaking down barriers of exclusivity is vital for true industry transformation. Access to knowledge, experiences, and resources is so important, and it shouldn't be constrained to a single event or just events solely. So how do we generate that energy in the wider community and make those experiences accessible to all? Because they're just so effective at cultivating this collective desire to act and be informed about fashion and sustainability in general. Again, at the moment, that's just another open-ended question. I don't necessarily have the answer to that, and it's something that I would personally need to explore further before I can give my own comment on. I mean, ultimately, intersectionality is absolutely vital. There's no fashion justice without racial justice and environmental justice. It's all intertwined, it's all linked, and we can't compartmentalise our thinking when we're trying to discuss solutions for change. And that would have to be the only critique I do have of the event, was perhaps the lack of diverse representation, because overall it was a really wonderful thing to be a part of. I hope they will host similar events in the future, obviously once they're allowed and it's safe to do so, and hopefully we'll take on board the absolute fundamental need for diverse representation in fashion discussion. So what are the key takeaways from my babbling on? Experiential fashion events are unbelievably effective at communicating important messages, and I now have first-hand experience of that. Fashion inclusion is everything, and intersectionality is non-negotiable. The most sustainable clothes are the ones that you already own, the ones in your wardrobe, and it doesn't matter what is on your feet when you start your sustainable fashion journey. All that matters is that you take the first step. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope that you've enjoyed my little reminiscent about the Manchester Sustainable Fashion Party. It's quite difficult to say that. And hopefully it's been a little bit insightful or interesting to you. And remember, again, when it comes to circular fashion, you've got to be there or be square. And thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic day. Bye!